Hello my dear friends, in today's video we'll review chapter 5 and 6, Externalities. There are various types of goods related to externalities. There are 4 of them: public goods, common pool resources, quasi-public goods, and private goods. All have different types of excludability and rivalry. We will give definitions of them. Excludability means that it is possible or not to exclude someone from using the goods. Rivalry means that the consumption of an individual can reduce or not reduce the consumption of someone else. Starting with public goods. Public goods have 2 characteristics: non-rivalrous and non-excludable. It means that public goods will not reduce the consumption by someone else, and it is not possible to exclude them from using them. The examples are police, national defense, national parks, and etc. However, using too many public goods by individuals can lead to a problem, which we call a free rider problem. It arises when the market fails to allocate these resources equally. For example, I visit the government clinic once a month where my friend trips almost every day. It means that the goods are free for anyone, but someone overused it. Private goods are rivalrous and excludable goods. These goods can be merit and demerit. These goods have positive and negative externalities, and the examples are computers, books, phones. As for common pool resources are rivalrous and non-excludable. They can be owned by anyone without price and not sold on the markets. The examples are rivers, forests, and lakes. It is important to note here the concept of the tragedy of the commons. It refers to shared goods or resources where everybody acts in their own interests, of course at the expense of the community. Quasi-public goods are non-rivalrous and excludable. An example is a public museum that can charge an entrance fee. So demerit goods are goods that are overconsumed and undesirable. It can be cigarettes and alcohol. Merit goods are underconsumed. The examples are education and health services. Any resources must be produced or consumed in a sustainable way. Sustainability refers to the use of resources in ways that do not result in fewer or lower quality resources. Sustainable production is a production that uses resources without depleting them. It means that it is possible to reproduce them. So logically, unsustainable resources are a production that uses resources in sustainable way. Moreover, it is important to talk about renewable and non-renewable resources. So non-renewable resources are resources that do not last infinitely. For example, minerals, oil, and gas. Renewable resources are resources that can last indefinitely. So, for example, forest, water resources, and soil fertility. In the introduction to economics, we have spoken about the economic term market failure. So, market failure is a failure of the market to allocate resources efficiently. It can be over-allocation or under-allocation, depending on the situation. Therefore, we derive the term which refers to the benefits or costs that a group of people can get. So externality is a situation in the market where the action of the consumers or producers can lead to a negative or positive effect on the society. Looking at the graph, we see the equilibrium in the market of externalities. There are no positive and no negative side effects. So MPB equals MSB and MPC equals MSC. But what are these abbreviations? Marginal private benefits are the benefits to consumers from consuming the goods. Marginal social benefits are the benefits to society from consuming these goods. Marginal private costs are the cost of producers to produce the goods. And marginal social costs are the costs to society of producing the goods. As for externalities, we have positive and negative externalities. Each of them is divided into consumption and production. Let's start with negative externalities. So we start with negative production externality is the external costs created by producers. On the graph, we see that the supply curve shifts left and MSC more than MPC, where MSC is the marginal private costs plus external cost. So we can think about a company that produces something that hurts society as a whole, and it will result in a market failure, which is reflected in the graph's welfare loss. So the example can be air pollution from factories, industrial waste, and carbon emissions. So you can think about what are the policies to correct externalities. The first one is Pigouvian tax, which is actually a tax on externality. The second way is imposing a carbon tax, which is a tax on carbon emissions from fossil fuels. And the third one is tradable permits, which are permits to pollute issued by the government. So the next one is negative consumption externality, which is the external cost imposed by consumer. On the graph, we see that demand shifts left and MSB less than MPB, where MSB is MPB plus external cost. So what about the example? A consumer wants to use a product and it has negative side effects on society in market failure. It is reflected in the graph welfare loss. But the example can be passive smoking, traffic congestion, and litter from tourists. So what do you think? What are the policies to correct externalities? We can think about the first one is market-based policies, which are the imposition of indirect taxes. The second one is government legislation. So legislation can limit consumer activities. And the last one is nudges, where there is a choice to change someone's behavior in an easy and low-cost way. Positive production externality refers to external benefits created by producers. On the graph, we see that MSC less than MPC. So we can think that the producer makes some goods that can be under-allocated. So the examples are training programs for employees and the construction of parks. Going through the policies to correct, there are two policies: direct government provision and subsidies. Positive consumption externality refers to the external benefits created by consumers. On the graph, we see that MSB more than MPB. We can imagine that a consumer wants to utilize something and the market under-allocates it. The examples are health programs, public libraries, museums, and galleries. Moreover, you have to calculate the welfare loss on any graph. The formula is here, but do not forget to calculate it. It is only for HL. Welfare loss equals square of triangle, base multiplied by height divided by 2. There are different policies to correct positive consumption externality. So it can be government legislation and regulation, as we spoke before, education and awareness creation, subsidies, and nudges. For those who are taking IB Economics HL, consumers and producers have the same information on the market. However, it can be a situation where it can be ineffective allocation of resources. So the term asymmetric information refers to a situation where buyers and sellers do not have equal access to information. It results in under-allocation of resources to the production of the goods and services. Moreover, there is a separate term, which is adverse selection. And it is a situation where one party has more information about the quality of a product. For example, the person sells the car and he or she knows more about the defects and other stuff, but it will be probably classified. Moral hazard is a situation where one party takes risks but does not face the full cost of these risks. The example can be the person bought an insurance policy and he or she does not think deeply about the outcomes because the insurance company will refund it. This is the end of chapter 5 and 6, Externalities. Thank you for watching, subscribe and stay tuned. Bye bye.